Welcome to the Fridge and Pantry review. You're now watching part 4, time-saving lunch and dinner options. Okay, so let's move on to some lunch or dinner foods that I have in my fridge and freezer. So these are hands down some of my favourites. I've got these on hand for the times I don't have to make my own. I love cooking, and so I actually like making burgers and patties with the kids. But for the times I don't have time to make it, I've got these on hand, and they're really cool because you can cook up a few in advance and then either get them out when you need them to put them in your lunch or have them as a snack when you come home from school or work. And the thing I love about these is if you find them in the freezer section in your supermarket and you check out the labels, they're made with pretty much whole food ingredients. It's mostly just a legume, so like the Asian bean is a zuki bean, for example, and the lentil burger is lentil, and they've got garlic in there and some veggies. It's amazing. It's really great. So check them out. They taste really nice, and I also sometimes use them when I make a roast. Another option, if you do like to cook, I'll show you some of the ingredients in these down the track, but this particular recipe is in the free ebook, and they're my something fishy fingers. They're fishy because there's no fish in them, and so it's like a vegetarian fish finger. They've basically got canned beans in them and some vegetable, and you mash it up and roll it in breadcrumbs. These are the breadcrumbs I use, and you can bake a whole lot up in one go and then just pull them out as you need them to either put them in the lunchbox or have them as a snack when you come home, or heat them again and eat them for dinner that night. Just make them and store them in the fridge. These breadcrumbs, I just like to show you this particular brand. Orgran I find is a really good go-to beginning brand because they make so many convenient alternatives for so many conventional products. It's great. They've got, custard alternatives if you like custard, for example. They make bread mix and breadcrumbs and pastas, and so there's a whole lot of options, and it's a really good place to begin. And if you can see like the labels, they're suitable for a number of different food styles. So for people who have to avoid wheat or gluten, dairy, soy, egg, and they're vegan friendly. So it's really handy starting place. Another thing you might like for lunch are crackers with whatever topping you like on top. These particular crackers are really delicious, and they're really crispy as well, which I like. I mean, you might have, if you've been eating healthy for a while, you see some things advertised as crispy, but it's really not. It's more cardboard-like. These are actually crispy, so that's quite nice, and that's why I like them. And again, they're free from a number of things, making them suitable for a number of people, which is just fantastic because nowadays it's not uncommon to have either more than one food intolerance yourself or more than one food intolerance in a family. And so how many different things you need to have on hand, the more products you can get which are actually convenient for more than one person is helpful, both on the budget and on your space if you don't have a very big pantry. Like I don't have a huge pantry. So the things that I like to put on top of the crackers are avocado, tomato, hummus, rocket, and sometimes a bit of dairy-free cheese. So this is my favourite dairy-free cheese at the moment. I've tried quite a few now, and the ladies at the local vegan shop here in Adelaide recommended this one as being really good, and they were right. It really is the closest to cheese. And I was watching a seminar not long ago which basically said that cheese is probably a harder thing to take out of the diet than meat, and I have to agree with that. I don't really miss meat at all, but I do miss cheese. So finding a suitable alternative is tricky. And how do we use this? We sprinkle it on tacos, on occasion, or it makes the pizza more special whenever we make it. It's not an everyday food, and really not even an every week food. You know, might be on the odd sandwich, if it's, you know, if we're making it. But yeah, it's something we add to sprinkle here and there to make it a bit more special. But it's, you know, it's not the 95% of our diet, it's the 5%. If nuts are an issue, this particular milk contains cheese contains nuts, so it might not be suitable for you. Okay, another handy thing to have in the fridge are salad veggies. So we get fresh veggies delivered, but there's that time at the end of the week where the veggies are no longer, you know, we run out and we're starting to look a little bit like that nursery rhyme, Old Mother Hubbard. And so it's sometimes handy to have these packaged fresh veggies on hand, because it's just not always convenient to get out and get to the shops. And so this way we're still at least getting something fresh on our plate as well. Okay, so it just adds to the options that we have. And so if that is, you know, your diet, or again, you know that, you know, you buy them and the fresh ones go moldy, especially if you have to wash them and chop them up too much, maybe getting something which is a little bit less processing involved, because, you know, it's a smaller vegetable, so you don't have to break up the rocket. You pretty much just wash it and put it on your plate. That might be more suitable for you than getting something like, for example, a whole iceberg lettuce, which you'll want to rinse each piece and slice it up, for example. A lot of these shopping tips really are starting to understand, you know, how you are as a shopper and an eater and a cook. And if you don't like doing things, finding products which are suitable to save you time with that. So moving on to dinner foods. So you might not like cooking. As I said, I like cooking, but I don't always have the time to sit there and blend 100 million spices. So it's really nice to have some simple packaged, what I'll call home fast foods. So, you know, a really good jar sauce or a packet mix like this, which is really made with mostly whole food ingredients, and you're just adding like a can of tomatoes and some water, and you're letting it simmer for half an hour. So while this is cooking, I'll prepare the other elements of the meal, so like steam some green veggies, for example, or some potato or rice or whatever we're serving with it. And we're ready to eat within half an hour, which is fantastic, you know, whereas if you were doing everything yourself from scratch, it would be a lot longer. So these ones are really quite tasty. This particular product comes with another flavour sachet, which, to be honest, I never use because I overcooked it the first time I made it, and then I found it a bit spicy. And so I just like the plain packet mix. It's really quite delicious. So this is one that I keep on hand in the cupboard. And again, as I said, if you look at the label, it's pretty much lentils and spices, and you just add tomato to it. So it's really cool. Another really tasty one that I like to have on hand for days I just don't have that energy to do it all is something like this. I've tried about 3 from this range now, and they're all pretty tasty. And the other handy thing is that they're gluten-free and dairy-free. So in our family, we don't eat dairy, and my niece doesn't eat gluten because she's got celiac disease. So something like this is quite handy to have on hand. There are other ways as well. You can make your own sort of simple homemade meal from packaged ingredients really easily, like these 2 dishes. And, you know, the basis of these is a rice, and probably my favourite rice to have on hand is either brown basmati rice, or I like the purple rice that you can see here. I just get the brown basmati rice from the supermarket, and the thing I like about it is it cooks within about 25 minutes. And ideally, you know, sometimes if I get down to the organic shop, I'll get organic rice as well. So to have a look around and see what your options are with where you're shopping. Good thing about rice and the next one, quinoa, is they're both gluten-free. So again, if you're cooking for someone who has those needs, these are some great options. Quinoa has a very specific taste. I find it's got a smoky sort of almost burnt taste. Maybe that's just my taste buds, but yeah, it's got quite a distinct flavour. And you pretty much cook quinoa like you would cook rice. They're small little round grains, like you can see. And yeah, you could cook it in water, you could cook it in stock for a bit of extra flavour, or you could even cook it in milk and make like a porridge with it and add sweet things to it. And that can make quite a delicious porridge. I've done that quite a few times. So it's pretty versatile, really. And what else would you put in the sauces? Well, legumes. So, for example, heaps of options. You know, everybody thinks that plant-based diets don't have much variety. You know, what do you do when you cut out the meat? And it's quite funny, since we've eaten more plant-based, we're not wanting for variety. There's lentils, chickpeas, azuki beans, yellow split peas, red lentils, green split peas, black beans, black eye beans, cannellini beans, kidney beans. You know, there's so much variety. And before I was eating a lot of chicken and some fish. And so, yeah, there's certainly a lot of options when you start looking to other food groups. Great thing about your legumes, if they're suitable for you, is that they help feed the good bacteria in your gut. They've got the fibres in there get digested by the good bacteria in your intestines, and it basically helps feed them and promote them in a healthy gut. So they're good in a number of ways. They're relatively low in calories for the amount of nutrition that you get for them, so they're quite nutrient dense. They're high in fibre, they have great source of minerals, and they're really filling as well. So they're quite handy little things to have on hand. And when you're going shopping with the legumes, the way to save time here is to have canned ones on hand. So have the whole variety that you'll soak and cook up, but for times that you don't have the time to actually cook it and put it all together, the canned is a great option. And what you want to look for with the cans are that ideally the can is BPA free, and ideally they're organic, and you might want to compare the sodium levels amongst the cans as well. And lastly, sometimes they've got additional additives, but most of the time when you read the labels you'll be seeing the bean, whatever the bean is, water and salt as the 3 ingredients. So the next thing that you can have on hand is pasta, because I come from an Italian family, so pasta is something that we've had quite a bit growing up, and it's a handy little thing for those days when you're in a hurry. You get some sauce, you get the pasta, and add lots of vegetables and legumes, and there you go, you've got dinner. And just letting you know that you can actually get brown rice pasta. So the great thing about this is if you've got gluten sensitivities in the house, it's gluten-free and it's from brown rice, so it's got more fibre in it than some of your conventional gluten-free alternative pastas might have. And there are now a range of companies available that are producing this. Up next, we've got the last section, which is looking at desserts, sweets, and some snack foods and what to do when you're entertaining people.